Welcome along to continued coverage of GP Pittsburgh. My name's Riley Knight, joined by Reed Duke in the booth here, and I tell you what, we got a real showstopper on our hands here for round number 14, Reed. Mike Sigrist and Paul Dean. We got a guy who's been in the Pro Tour top 8 one time here with Paul Dean, Battle for Zendika, and repeat competitor Michael Sigrist. This guy is, well, he's okay. He's all right at the game of Magic, I suppose. One of Mike's friends' favorite pastime is to find different ways to dagger the poor bloke, because he's the only person on his team not in the Hall of Fame. But I tell you what, he's not going to be too long before he's there as well. This guy, tell us a little bit about Mike. I know that you've had stuff to do with him in the past.
Well, you see the number next to his name. He's a 24th ranked player in the world, a member of one of the absolute top teams in Magic, and he is former Player of the Year. Basically, what is there that we could say about Mike Sigrist that wouldn't be true? He's
He's a Hall of Famer? Oh, no, that's not true.
He's had success at every level of competition.
4 Pro Tour top out? No, only 3.
All right, I guess you're finding some weaknesses in the armor here, but
poor old Siggy. No, look, he is one of the all-time greats. It's fair to say, as you say, Player of the Year, 3 Pro Tour top 8s. Most recently, of course, at Pro Tour Ixalan, just a couple of months ago. It was just last year. And this guy, he's come to party. 11-1-1 puts him in the driver's seat here as we look to pull together that top 8 read.
The worst thing you could say about him probably is that he doesn't have a third land in play.
That's really one of his failings. From a temporal point of view, right now, it's certainly something that that's about as rude as I think you like. It's possible for you to be to someone, isn't it, Reed?
Yeah.
That's about as nasty. The claws have really come out for Reed Duke today. Goblin Chainwheel on the side of Paul Dean's going to get busy for 3, but oh no, another seal away. So Sigrist is doing a good job keeping himself in the game here, although this Chandra is going to be difficult for him to answer.
Yeah, I think this Chandra will be the end of Mike Sigrist. He just doesn't have the resources he needs to fight the powerful Planeswalker, which is one of the best cards in the matchup. These two players, Paul Dean and Mike Sigrist, we saw them in each of our last 2 on-camera matches, both in sort of outrageously close matches. Paul Dean just barely squeaking out Jeff Walker in round 11, but he lost his last match off-camera to be 11-2. Mike Sigrist, on the other hand, just played a 55-minute game 1 of a control mirror against Zach Allen and came out with a draw. So he's 11-1-1. The stakes of this match, both players need a win in the last 2 matches. Mike Sigrist can afford 1-1. Paul Dean really needs to win this one and then intentionally draw the last round if he wants to make the top 8. So if you're a fan of both these players, as I am, the outcome you're probably rooting for is for Paul Dean to win this one and Mike Sigrist to win his last match, so we can see more of both of these players in the top 8.
Cycling away that cast out, Sigrist desperately digging for lands, but I think this is just going to be a little bit too much for him to overcome here. His hand is full of cards that he's just not going to get the chance to play by the look of things, and he's going to have a lot of trouble keeping himself in this one. And Paul Dean could be very quickly sealing his fate here. Poor old Siggy, unable to find the lands he needs, and this is a death sentence for any control deck. They need to hit their land drops.
Yeah, Mike Sigrist has 2 little mana, 2 little life. If he can cast out Chandra, he still knows about the Chain Whirler, which means he'll be down to 1 life, and I mean, he's hanging in there, but what kind of a life is it really?
So Sigrist's going to commit the Chandra to memory, put it as deep as possible. I think that was that during the draw step that he did that in order to bury it as deep as possible?
Precisely.
But a Hazaret the Fervent here for Paul Dean. I mean, a single activation, that's going to seal the deal here. So let's see what Siggy can find. He needs just running answers, because Paul Dean has all the threats all the time. And poor old Sigrist here having a really rough start to his 14th round, and he'll be feeling that mental fatigue. That was a long one last round.
Oh, tell me about it. He just played 55 brutal minutes of Magic, one of the most challenging matchups you can even imagine in Standard. Super taxing, and now what seems likely to happen is that he's going to be down 0-1 and facing the tough task of winning 2 sideboarded games in a challenging matchup against one of the top players in the room, Paul Dean.
Yes, indeed. We are going to go to the sideboards here. Reed, Sigrist going down. You can see he's going to stay strong. You can see that Sigrist, he likes to play a pretty cool hand, especially when under pressure like this. We've seen him at the very top levels of competition, keeping a cool head in very adverse circumstances, and he's not likely to let this get to him. Super nice dude as well. I always enjoy having a bit of a laugh with Siggy outside of the games of Magic he plays. Very chilled out dude. Got a very proud father as well. I know that.
Father of twins.
Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Twin girls.
Well, baby Siggy 1 and 2 there. Wonder if they're at home watching their dad cheering him on. If they are indeed, well, greetings and salutations from team coverage. Paul Dean made the trip down from Canada. This guy has given us a bit of a masterclass so far. As you said before, Reed, his 12th round match was just wow. I mean, so much to take away from that. We saw the intricacies of this. This matchup, I don't think you could be criticized for thinking that it might be played out. It's done. Like, we understand how it works. That's what, the layman might think after having seen a couple of weeks of these two decks going out at the top of the format. But, I mean, I've learned something today about the interplay between the different threats and answers that these decks bring to the table. There's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, and you can play and watch this matchup another 2 months, and you probably still be learning new things. It's very challenging. The blue-white deck wants to match up the perfect answer against the perfect threat, and the job of the black-red aggro player is to be patient, pick your spots, keep the pressure on, and make it as inconvenient as possible for the white-blue control player to accomplish that, to line up their threats and answers correctly.
Well, we can touch upon the sideboarding here. I know that we've talked about it a fair bit throughout the weekend, Reed, but there are some cards that I think it's important to draw the viewers' attention to as we head into games 2 and potentially even 3 here. Let's kick things off with Paul Dean. What are the cards that you expect to make a splash post-board here?
Well, we did see Paul play this matchup 2 rounds ago. I took note that he still had Lightning Strike in his deck in Game 2 after sideboarding. And then, at least for Game 3, after losing to Torrential Gearhulk out of Jeffrey Allen's deck, he brought back in Unlicensed Disintegration. So if he knows what Mike Sigrist is up to and knows about the 3 Lyra Dawnbringers, you can expect him to continue turning to that Unlicensed Disintegration. That's a card he'll want access to. 2 copies in addition to Hour of Glory and 2 Doomfalls to round out his answers to a really powerful opposing threat like Lyra. We'll see exactly how much of that he has in his deck after sideboarding. Mike with access to Lyra, Baral, Chief of Compliance, and a few extra reactive cards. Ether Meltdown, Forsake the Worldly, Fumigate, Ixalan's Binding, Sorcerer's Spyglass if he wants to round out his answers to Paul Dean's threats, in particular that Chandra, Torch of Defiance, which has done so much good work for Paul so far.
As the players look at their opening hands, Reed, I just want to touch upon something that we talked about a little bit yesterday. Maybe for viewers who've just joined us today, welcome. By all means, welcome. But Baral, Chief of Compliance in the board for white-blue. This is something that you tested extensively leading up to the Pro Tour, and you had your conclusions about the 1-3.
Yeah, it's going to excel anytime you can count on your opponent not having cheap removal in their deck. It's just a 1-3 you can put on the battlefield early. It does a nice job blocking a variety of the attackers in Standard, including that Ragavan token, which can wreak havoc on white-blue control. But in general, I mean, you're playing a deck packed with all mid-range and expensive instants and sorceries. So the 1 mana reduction over the course of a long game, that can really add up, in addition to getting to loot and perfect your hand each and every time you counter an instant or sorcery. Baral, it's just a card that it's vulnerable. You wouldn't want to put it in your main deck necessarily, but if you can count on casting it early and having it stick in play, it's going to give you a big advantage in the long run. Yeah,
turning those Glimmer of Genius into 3-cost draw 2s, turning Disallow into actual counterspell with upside. It's insane.
With upside.
Yeah. Search for Azcana going to open the account for Siggy here. We'll see what Dean's up to in response. He's got a 2-drop of his own. It is a classic play here. Turn 2 Scrap Heap Scrounger. Been a standard defining play for quite a number of months now. This card has really I mean, it was never like a Gideon, Ally of Zendikar type dominant card, but Scrappy Scrounger has just been a consistent role player in Standard ever since it was printed.
Definitely, it's a bit more subtle than a card like Gideon or a card like Teferi. It's it never wins the game on its own, but it's just such a cheap, persistent, and efficient threat. It's a major part of why these black-red aggro decks perform so well, particularly against control.
Another reason that they perform so well, and again, particularly against control, is this card you see on your screen right now, Duress, tipped as one of my absolute best sideboard cards in Standard, along with Negate. And right now, it's doing some work. I mean, in so many matchups, this one, most importantly, it is often just a straight-up Thoughtseize.
For sure, and part of the reason Duress is so strong and so important in Standard is the presence of Settle the Wreckage, which is the combination of Settle the Wreckage and Teferi is just impossible for creature decks to beat sometimes. But if you can land a Duress on that key turn when your opponent is really, really counting on the Settle, you can just ruin their whole plan and connect through for a giant hit.
Negate hits the bin thanks to Search for Azcanta. Looks like Mike Seeger is going to cast a Sorcerer's Spyglass. Now, that's an interesting inclusion. He can go after things like Scrap Heap, Scrounger, Hazoret the Fervent, but most importantly, Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
Yeah, I like Mike bringing it in because Chandra is so important. You can also strand a Heart of Kirin without the ability to be crude. But, man, it is not the play he wanted to make here when his life total is under siege by these two Scrap Heap Scroungers. Sorcerer Spyglass, missed land drop, an awful turn for Mike Sigrist.
Wow, a real stinker for him as he's going to take 6 here. And I tell you what, the top of his library is just not being cooperating this match read.
No, these have been some bad draws for Mike, and you see one of the main appeals of choosing a deck like Red-Black Aggro is you get to absolutely punish and devastate an opponent who misses a beat.
And Dean's doing exactly that. He's going to get in for 9 next turn unless Sigurus has got something to say about it. I don't see Siggy with the Settle the Wreckage there. He's got a Teferi, but
yeah, Paul saw his hand a turn ago, and then you basically know that Mike found a land this turn. So unless the last draw step was Settle the Wreckage, Paul sort of has the green light here.
Just go, just jam and slam. Is that what you're doing here, Reed? Or are you going to play a bit more conservatively?
Well, we've seen Paul be pretty conservative, and this is just exactly what he wants. It's easy mode here without having to actually face the tough decision.
Yep, another Duress is just perfect here for Dean, as it means that he's going to see if the way is clear, and if it's not, he's going to clear it right out anyway. So Sigrist in a really tough spot here. He's going to go down to 1 almost certainly. I don't think there's anything in his hand that can help. He's got to disallow if he doesn't want Dean to see that last card, which I believe was the pull from tomorrow.
Yep, it is. So this is the sort of classic dilemma that you asked about a couple of rounds ago, which is that do you counter the Duress or do you keep your mana open to spend on something else? And I think what Mike's weighing here is, does he want to protect the information or does he want the ability to maybe pull for 2 as a desperation move at the end of the turn? He decides, sure, I might want to pull for 2 because that's going to fill my graveyard for Search for Azcanta, and it's sort of desperation. I'm not going to have the luxury to spend a lot of mana on pull from tomorrow, at least not in the next couple of turns. I really have to defend myself instead.
He gets to see 2 more cards here. Next turn, he can obviously use the Search for Azcanta ability to dig 1 card deeper here. And that's exactly it. Andrew Brown on the card viewer has found the perfect way to describe the situation. Revealing that hand to Duress was indeed a desperate gambit. And now Sigrist down to 1. Reed is in trouble. And no pull from tomorrow?
I think maybe Paul actually took it.
He actually might have taken it. I see it went off screen. Yeah, difficult to see. I don't think he's found it. I don't think he's found what he needs here. Nope. It's just that's just a land that you can play. Oh, dearie me. Poor old Mike Sigrist going out with a whimper rather than a bang. This one kind of just fell apart at the seams for him here. So Dean, a more conservative attack. He's going to force Sigrist to have something. And with 2 mana, cycling away the irrigated farmland off the top. What could it be? Absolutely nothing at all. So I'm very sorry to say that Mike Sigrist goes down, but congratulations to Paul Dean. Now, your analysis, Reed, as we headed into this match, what does this mean for Mike Sigrist's GP Pittsburgh right now?
So Mike Sigrist falls to 11, 2, and 1, which at many American Grand Prix that would be out. You're usually going for the record of 13-2, but Grand Prix Pittsburgh was a little bit smaller than normal, and Mike Sigrist had a good start to the tournament, so presumably good tiebreakers. I'm going to say if he wins his last round, he has a really great chance of being in the top 8, and we very well could see Mike Sigrist again.
Paul Dean, on the other hand, sitting pretty at Exon 2. If he can win out from here, he's in with a real shot. Yeah,
so Paul's goal is to get paired against someone who's in a similar situation and willing to draw with him, and then if everything goes smoothly, he'll be in the top 8.
Also, even next 2 and 1 should just lock up.
That's what it looks like to me. You know, there's no promises in a Magic tournament like this. There's always strange things that can happen. You can get paired against someone who doesn't want to draw with you, but Paul Dean has a great chance.
How to do this. You stare
what
at it,
what I find quite interesting here, Reed, is I keep going back to often. I'll make reference to sort of landmark pieces of Magic literature that I'll refer our viewers to if you want to understand a certain concept in Magic. One of those things is I just do not understand the arcane wizardry that goes into tiebreakers. And as a matter of fact, I mean, this is the 4th time. I'm not setting this up. Like, this is not something I'm going into. Like, just plugging your articles. But you wrote 2 fantastic articles on how to understand tiebreakers that really illuminated it for me, and I think they're still up there on Channel Fireball. Yeah,
you know, when I'm thinking about something to write about, the first question I ask is like, what is something that I wish I knew when I was first going to tournaments? And that's one of the things that it stresses people out so much. It's like, you know, it's almost like speaking Chinese or something for an American player going to their first Grand Prix. Just looking at the standings and not knowing if you're going to make the top 8, if you should draw, if you should play, what's going to happen. It can be really stressful, but if you just sit down and consider it and think carefully, and once you get a little bit of experience, it's really not that challenging. And I think players like Paul Dean and Mike Sigrist they're just going to calmly look at the standings and try to evaluate what's going on. And I think the result that Paul Dean is going to come up with is, I can hopefully draw into the top 8 next round.
Well, they will know what's going on, but if you don't, my friends, and if you want to get across how tiebreakers work at GPs, I certainly have to give myself a little refresher course every now and again. You can see some of the magnificent literature written by this man, am I right? But right now, we are going to check in down in the feature match area with Paul Dean, the winner of that match. Paul, first of all, welcome along. Congratulations. Cards really kind of fell in your favor this time around, huh?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think I drew quite a bit better than Mike this round.
Yeah, poor old Siggy, unable to find those lands. Now, Reed has described this standard format as a very punishing one that really doesn't allow for any fumbles or stumbles or missteps. You were in a position to really put the screws on Siggy. I mean, could you see the blood was in the water as soon as he missed those land drops there?
Yeah, well, in the first game when he missed his second land drop, I mean, it's not like I've locked up the game at that point, but he's going to need to draw several lands in a row in order to even be in the game. So that felt pretty favorable. And then in the second game, when I saw that he didn't have a settle the wreckage and I have a really commanding position, I knew he needed to get pretty lucky to get in the game. But I had the duress to make it even less likely. So, tough times for him, but good times for me.
Yeah, Paul, we've watched you now play against blue-white control twice on camera, and there have been times when you chose really conservative lines, holding back your creatures, and then other times when you really forced the action. What was the difference between some of the situations you faced 2 rounds ago against Jeff Walker versus your games against Mike Sigrist now?
Right. Well, I think that's definitely one of the toughest parts about playing this matchup, because you're sitting on the red side. You don't know what's in their hand. And let's say you got a board of guys. If you attack with everything, you get punished by Settled Wreckage. But if you attack with only 1 or 2 things, then you get punished by Seal Away. And so it's hard to know what to do. But generally, if I'm really far ahead, I'll play conservatively. Like in that last game against Sigrist, he was at 1, and I've got a board of 3 creatures, so I don't need to attack with everything. So I can just hold back a little bit. But there was a time against my previous opponent where I knew I was pretty far behind. I knew he had a Scanta. I knew he had to settle the wreckage. And so at that point, you just got to kind of hope to get pretty lucky. So that's when I would not play conservatively. I would just hope to get lucky.
One final question, Paul, before we let you go. We saw Duress be absolutely critical in that last game there against Mike Sigrist, clearing the way. I've got this picked along with Negator as just one of the best sideboard cards in the entire format. What are your views on Duress and its sort of applications in games 2 and 3?
Well, against blue-white control, with Teferi as the main win condition, duress is excellent because you can always look at their hand before attacking, and you know whether to attack into Settle the Wreckage. Or you can take Teferi, which is their best card. So in that matchup, I think duress is by far the best sideboard card that red-black can have. But it's not too good when you play 4 duress because some of the other decks, like Esper and blue-black, they lean heavier on Scarab God and Torrential Gearhulk. So sometimes you duress them, and you see their hand, and you can't take their best card. Whereas against blue-white, you're usually taking their very best card. So I think against blue-black type decks, with Gearhulks, it's better to play Doomfall.
Yeah.
But against blue-white, it's better to play Duress.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us there, Paul Dean. It's been fantastic to catch up with you, and the very best of luck to you as we head towards the top 8.
All right, thanks. Hi, Leanne.
There we go. All right, a little bit of a shout-out there, my friends.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Paul Dean, for joining us. Now, we do have Time Walk Magic lined up for you guys at home around the world, and that'll be coming your way very shortly. But before that, of course, we've got to go to a break. So we'll see you on the other side of these ads. More action coming your way from GP Pittsburgh after this. 4 here at GP Pittsburgh. My name's Riley, joined by Reed Duke, of course, and it's great to have you along for a little bit more magic before we get down to the final stretch before our top 8. We do have, of course, Time Walk Magic lined up. This has happened previously in round number 14, and we'll bring it to you now. Essentially, well, not quite live, but closest thing to it now. And I tell you what, we got another black-red aggro deck, surprise, surprise, but Kazu Negri's got a spicy one for us here.
Yeah, I love to see this. This is a black-green ramp deck built around Hour of Promise and all of the really awesome things you can do after you cast Hour of Promise. That means black and green planeswalkers like Liliana Death's Majesty, Vraska, Relic Seeker, as well as sinking your mana into things like Arch of Arazka or Treasure Map. So a lot of cool stuff available to Kazu Negri, and just in general a much, much different archetype than the ones we've seen for most of the weekend. Yeah,
this is way off the wall here. Negri's really done so well to get all the way into 11-2 so far. We'll see if that fortune continues because, I mean, this deck's super cool. We tend to hear decks like this described as, as Super Friends type decks. Lots of Planeswalkers, Karn, Liliana, Vraska, the list goes on. And, I mean, mate, all I want to see, Reed, is out of the sideboard that Sandworm Convergence. Just one time. Oh my goodness me.
Man.
Oh, my goodness me. We were talking last night at dinner about some of the cards that we wished had been good enough for Standard, and one of them for me was not only Sandworm Convergence, but the Overwhelming Splendor. I mean, 8 mana is just a million billion squillion mana. But if these were the cards that were defining the Standard format, I'd be a very happy chappy. Oh well, I guess I have to settle for Argyl's Bloodfast. This is another enchantment that has really impressed me this weekend, Reed.
Yeah, this one's great. It's just super powerful against the decks that aren't attacking your life total, like a Godpharaoh's Gift deck or a blue-white control deck. But additionally, we've seen it be really powerful as a Diamond Valley, as the transformed land, Temple of Aklazat's, even in a matchup like this, black-red aggro. So you might see Kazu Negri draw a card or two and then transform it and use it to stabilize if he can later on with giant creatures like Thrashing Brontodon or tokens off of his planeswalkers.
Thrashing Brontodon, Old Thrashy B, is a card that I think is just not seeing enough play. It's a 3/4 for 3 that completely stonewalls Goblin Chainwhirler and really does a lot of good work on defense. And in addition to that, blows up Seal Away, Cast Out, what have you. I'd love to see more Thrashing Brontodons. I think the card's in an excellent position.
Yeah, it's quite strong. 3/4 just matches up really good in a world of where Goblin Chainwhirler is one of the defining cards. Ooh, man, this is what you don't want to see if you're playing a slow deck, is a fast start from mono red, starting off with Bomat Courier, curving right up to Hazoret, an unlicensed Disintegration placed in for good measure.
But a Vraska's Contempt is a great way to get himself back in here. Kazu Negri with the more or less perfect answer here, but oh my goodness me, down to 2 life. Should be up to 4, of course, now as we see that life total updated, but a Kari Zev played out here. Morgan McLaughlin's got a fresh grip to draw off that Bomat Courier as well. It's not looking good here for Negri.
Yeah, I think he could have considered just cashing in the Bomat Courier right there to deploy another creature or potentially draw into a Lightning Strike to win immediately. Instead, he's going to hold on, try to get max value, and I guess force Kazu to answer the 1/1, because a 1/1 is a pretty potent threat when you're at 3.
Just that slow roll here from Morgan McLaughlin. But an Hour of Promise is going to put up some blockers. We'll see if McLaughlin has a response. He may just do, because, as you say, we've got a Lightning Strike hiding out under that in that post bag.
I wonder if it was an intentional decision or perhaps an oversight to not transform Argyl's Bloodfast this turn.
Oh, because then, of course, could gain a couple of life off of a zombie token or so, yeah.
Sure, or just have extra mana if that's what he needs.
I mean, he's not drawing extra cards, so yeah, that could be a game-changing play here for Negri. See if he can survive another turn. Now, 3 deserts here will mean that Negri gets a pair of 2/2s. Man, Hour of Promise was a bit of a flash in the pan. Remember when it was being played in Scapeshift?
Yeah, it's a super powerful effect. The fact that you can choose non-basic lands makes it really powerful for a deck like this. You can sort of pick your poison with Arch of Arazka, Scavenger Grounds, if near Deadlands, whatever you need.
And now these zombie tokens more or less priced into blocking here. We are going to see McLaughlin respond. But yeah, Hour of Promise in Scape Shift in Modern, the fact that it cost 5 as well would mean that it was a very common turn 3 play rather than Primeval Titan costing 6. But now relegated to the weird and wacky wonderful decks we're seeing in Standard in the hands of Kazu Negri here. And look at Chandra off the top.
Boy,
from that Burma Curie. That's going to seal the deal.
That would have been a perfect spot if he could have sacrificed the zombie token that was blocking Ragavan. He could have remained at 3 life and not died to the Chandra. Granted, it was still a horrible spot for him, but I think he would have been a little better off having the Temple of Aklazats.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way that it goes in game number 1. We'll see if anything changes in game number 2. Negri opening up with an Ifnir Deadlands. That's an awkward way to open the account here. McLaughlin without a Bomat Courier to kick things off. And another flip card, but this time, Reed, it's going to be a treasure map.
Okay, a little better since it doesn't cost him to smooth his draw and draw extra cards. It doesn't cost him life.
So McLaughlin, see what his next move is. He's got a couple of options at the 2-drop slot. I see a Carry Zev hiding out there, but instead it's going to be Heart of Kieran. Negri, he is going to be able to filter those draws a little bit thanks to that treasure map, and he's got the Hash-Up Oasis Ifnir Deadlands draw, and that's not what you want against the red deck, Reed.
No, not exactly, although the good news is he'll be guaranteed to get his 2 tokens if he does cast Hour of Promise later in the game.
So, Heart of Kieran is going to eat a Naturalize. Look at that. And I can tell you that this Naturalize, bit of spice, it's in the main deck for Negri. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Smooth out that draw with the treasure map. Let's see what Negri can find. I didn't see, did that card go up or down?
He left a basic swamp on top, unless my eyes deceived me.
All right, well, there we go. We've got painless access to both green and black now. That's what you want. And Negri on a much more positive trajectory, I would say, in this game here, Reed.
Yeah, he's made it to turn 4. He's still at 20 life.
And even better now, an Essence Extraction. It's going to cost him a life to play it, but up to 22 now.
And that can just go straight to the graveyard, that Scrap Heap Scrounger.
I'm not sure why McLaughlin has exiled it here.
Time walk match, so we can't correct it from our position here. But yeah, that Essence Extraction does not exile the creature.
So treasure map, going to scry. That looks like a split card to me, probably never to return. It's going to the bottom. And and a braid for McLaughlin. So wow, no treasure cove. The expedition is unsuccessful. The ship was wrecked upon the shore.
That's a really well-placed braid, and props to Morgan McLaughlin for having it in his deck after sideboarding. I wouldn't have thought to do that. I would have just been more aggressive with a couple cards like Unlicensed Disintegration as my reactive cards.
Well, getting rid of that treasure map there was probably going to be, super important because Negri not only access to extra mana but extra cards as he tries to transition to the late game. And speaking of the late game, this is what McLaughlin wants. His top end, Chandra, Torture Defiance, is going to really start to chuck some punches around for him and Carry Zev as well, just to stick another nail into this particular coffin. Although Negri is battling hard. He's pushing up against the lid and saying, hey, buddy, I ain't dead yet. Let's get this Hour of Promise.
I would have thought for sure he was going to have a Vraska's Contempt at the end of the turn, but it looks like he's stuck with a couple 6-drops in hand, which the Hour of Promise will unlock, and 2 zombie tokens for his troubles.
All right, so going to get on the board here. That's what you want. Having to think about that second land. He's already got 3 deserts, so he doesn't necessarily need another desert here.
Sure, I could definitely see him just pull a Blooming Marsh or something like that. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, Reed Duke. Jeez, that's why you're the world number 1, huh? Calling those shots. There's the zombies as well. And a real nice little sort of transitional card to get into that late game. Reminds me of, was it Nissa's Renewal that you played at a Pro Tour one time in the that green-black control deck?
I most certainly did. Nissa's Renewal would get you 3 extra lands, then a Season's Past would pick up the Nissa's Renewal and some other stuff.
But just the gaining you life with Nissa's Renewal was one of those ways to transition after the ramp into the late game. And I think the zombies, they serve a similar purpose, right? They block and get it done from that perspective.
Yep.
Here's a Doomfall, though. Target you, says McLaughlin. Let's have a look at what he's working with here. Cast down, Ravenous Chupacabra, and a Vraska Relic Seeker. Pretty clear choice here from my perspective. Any reason not to take the Vraska here?
Well, the Vraska can't kill the Chandra. The Ravenous Chupacabra is a pretty decent roadblock in addition to potentially allowing Kazu to cast multiple spells in the same turn. So I would have a good think about it, but I would I would probably wind up taking the Vraska just on raw power. I think I agree with you there.
Yes, indeed. The card is very good, and it is going to hit the bin now. Well, no, sorry, the Exile Zone even. She ain't come back anymore. And now we see Chandra upstairs again for mana. It's not often that we see just straight up dumping stuff into play thanks to the mana ability of Chandra, Torture Defiance. But McLaughlin's getting it done. Unfortunately, unable to attack into those two 2/2s there. And Negri now, well, he's got to turn the corner. Obviously, that Vraska would have been a stellar play from him on this turn, but he's reduced to, we've got a cast down, a Ravenous Chupacabra, and that just looks like another land here. So let's see what the plan is now for Negri. Very much enjoying seeing a spicy brewski like this at the top tables of Standard. Even, I mean, right now, live for top 8 as well.
You saw him think quite a lot about what second land to go for with his Hour of Promise. I think if he had foreseen that he was going to get Doomfall and get his Vraska taken away, he would have more strongly considered something like Arch of Arazka to make sure he doesn't run out of gas in the late game. But for now, the most pressing problem is that Chandra.
Yeah, and it looks like Negri is showing respect where respect is due. Both of the zombies coming towards the Chandra. I mean, this opens him up to a big backswing. Is Negri just, at this point, so determined to get rid of that Planeswalker that he's going to take a bit of a hit as a result?
I'm not too sure. It's an odd play. I would have expected him to maybe play the Ravenous Chupacabra pre-combat, take out one of those potential blockers, and then attack. Could be that he wants to finish off Kari Zev with Ifnir Deadlands. It could be that he's drawn something that really dramatically changed his plans.
Perplexing, to say the very least. So both legendary creatures going to jump in front of those zombies, and looks like Negri's happy enough for it to happen. So there's one zombie bounces off the 1/3, one takes care of P and Alar.
Very interesting that his removal spell happens to be a cast down, which couldn't answer either the Kari Zev or the P and Alar.
Yeah, a real clunker. I remember when I was first seeing that card when it was preview. I'm like, mate, this is just better than Doomblade, and it's funny, in the current Standard format, there's so many legendary creatures.
It's true, and a lot of the best ones happen to be legendary. And I'll just mention it one more time, Riley. Unless you and I missed something, we think that the Scrap Heap Scrounger is exiled in error. It only died to an Essence Extraction, which normally doesn't exile.
I think
could be impactful in this game, although it's a time walk match, so we have no power to correct the situation here.
Unfortunately, the time machine is in the shop, so we can't go back and fix that error. Because, that's what you'd do if you had a time machine.
The first thing I would do.
Minor game rule violation corrections. Yeah. Let's see Chandra now go up to 7 loyalty. And Negri is, he's pushing forward, and I like to see it, but a confusing sequence from him there. Here's a Rekindling Phoenix now. And that's going to also be followed up by another Kari Zev. So look at this. McLaughlin is just so determined to play out his hand that we've seen 3 activations of the... I guess one of the least popular modes on Chandra, the mana mode there.
It's working out very well for him, though, allowing him to just keep the pressure on an opponent that's really trying his hardest to stabilize. And most importantly, he's deploying blockers that can protect the Chandra against an opponent whose only real defense against it is attacking on the ground. Kazu's been unfortunate to not find Vraska's Contempt so far in this game.
Cast down on the Thopter token here. Obviously can't go after that Kari Zev with it, and it wouldn't be doing too much against the Phoenix anyway. So Negri, he's found off. What's he found off the top here?
He's in big trouble, and I don't like that play of killing the Thopter token. I think he should have either just untapped to see what happened, or potentially killed the Phoenix at the end of the turn with the plan to use Ifnir Deadlands to finish off the token. He's in a bad spot no matter what with the Chandra on 7.
Yeah, because now the Ifnir Deadlands doesn't really do anything, does it, against 2/3 power creatures?
No, I suppose he can attack. It's effectively a forced block for McLaughlin, and then he can finish something off with the Deadlands. But again, the Chandra on 7 is the main problem here.
Essence Extraction now on the Rekindling Phoenix, and now we may see that Ifnir Deadlands do something. Looks like that's going to be the play.
Okay,
yep.
So the outcome winds up being the same either way. actually, yeah, it's the same as if he had targeted the Phoenix with the cast down. It would have, my play of untapping and seeing what happened would have been the worst of the three options, but.
Well, in any case, that's the way that the business is concluded, and Chandra gets knocked down to 5. McLaughlin able to soak up some of that damage with carry Zev in the face of the 2-2-2s, but, well, this game a little bit more evenly poised than we might have thought it would be.
Yeah, it's still advantage on the board to Morgan McLaughlin, but this is where the raw power of the black-green ramp deck and the ability to top deck so strongly, Hour of Promise, Liliana Death's Majesty, Vraska, Relic Seeker, Vraska's Contempt, those are all super live draws, and if the game continues indefinitely, you got to expect Kazu to find some of them.
Chandra goes up once again. Are we going to see a card off the top this time? No, we're not. No, we're not. I love it. Goblin Chainwhirler comes down. Take one, my friend. Down to 24. And now 3-mana, 3/3 first strike is left behind. Of course, the 2 power, 2 toughness creatures unaffected by the triggered ability there.
Boy, very telling, Riley, that Morgan would use the mana ability and so conspicuously keep up 3 untapped lands and a card in hand.
Oh, yes.
He's got to be up to something.
He's up to something. Some kind of chicanery going on from Morgan McLaughlin, it would seem. Here's a cast down on the Goblin Chainwhirler. McLaughlin without a response. Let's see if Negri's going to get hustle and bustle again. Yes, the 2-2's getting frisky. And now McLaughlin. Oh, what's he trying to sell us, Reed? What's he trying to sell us? It's an unlicensed disintegration. He went after the zombie token there rather than the Chupacabra. Any particular reason to favor one of the 2-2s?
It's a good play because of the potential of graveyard recursion. So, for example, imagine Morgan draws and casts a Glorybringer, and then Kazu draws Liliana Death's Majesty. If the Chupacabra was in the graveyard, that would be one extra option for Kazu with a graveyard recursive card. But now keeping the Chupacabra in play in a way, it's less dangerous that way.
Yeah, not a huge amount of blink effects in standard. We don't have our cloud shifts or our acrobatic maneuvers or anything. I guess you could play acrobatic maneuver, I suppose. So now, Ravenous Chupacabra facing down Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Chandra back up to 7. Oh, hello, how about this one? I'll cast that very gladly, says McLaughlin. And just what the doctor ordered, in comes the Dagon. Big Doggin. Gets across for 4, gets rid of the Ravenous Chupacabra. And he's going to have to take some time to catch his breath here. Oh, and a Vraska's Contempt off the top. Read, the hits don't stop.
Yeah, wow. So one good turn deserves another, but still advantage Morgan McLaughlin because he could be ready to untap with Glorybringer unless Kazu has yet another strong draw.
Scrub Heap Scrounger there. And we have another treasure map now for Kazu Negri, so he's going to jump in the Black Pearl and set sail, try to find Davy Jones' locker. See the golden riches that lie within.
Now,
big attack here.
Okay, yeah, two activations of Ifnir Deadlands. One, the Deadlands itself was sacrificed, and with another, the Scavenger Grounds was sacrificed. Those killed off Elemental Token and Kari Zev, and now Kazu down to 6 lands. He's thinking about his scry.
Treasure Map, a card that just a little slow, but often very impressive. It saw some play in the old Anointed Procession deck where it was generating, 6, 12 treasures sometimes, and that was just bonkers. But I like this card. I'm hoping to see more of it post-rotation when some of the other more entrenched card advantage engines sort of rotate out. Really good with Khan as well.
Definitely. Yeah, this is definitely a fun, flavorful card. It suffers a lot, I think, from being in the same format as Field of Ruin because you work so hard to get that treasure cove, and then before you can actually draw any cards, your opponent just caps it.
That is kind of true. I guess there are so many good utility lands that Field of Ruin was a very necessary pressure valve against things like Azcanta of the Sunken Ruin, the Temple of Aklazots, and Treasure Cove. But I think it proved to be just a little bit too good against them because Field of Ruin already a modern mainstay. McLaughlin now. Nervous jiggle of the knee here for him. He can sense he's ahead. He's a Goblin Chainwhirler off the top. Going to cast that off his mountains. Get Negri down to 12 now. And this treasure map, I mean, it's useful in filtering through what Negri wants to draw, but he's going to have to find something pretty spectacular here. Because he's taking 7 a turn. That number's only going to go up. Down to 5. Let's see what Negri can conjure up here off the top. What has he got? 1 time. Down the bottom. Okay, well, 2 times. Let's see.
So he scryed 1 card to the top and didn't cast it.
Curious, to say the very least. Another card going down below decks. And we're going to see Treasure Cove flip. Now, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to cash that in for any extra cards just yet. It does, of course, stay tapped after being transformed. But he does have a rich booty. 3 treasure tokens ready to go. So, off the top, what's he got? 2 cards in hand. Read 1 that he scribed at the top, which we haven't seen just yet.
Oh, it's the card that you like, Riley.
Oh, give it to me. Oh, yes. Sandworm Convergence.
All right, well, enjoy the moment because I'm going to have to sadly report that it's not good enough here.
Sandworms. Let's get it done. It's probably not going to be enough, as you mentioned, because he's probably going to die next turn, but still, we saw it live. And also Time Walk Magic still counts.
So it's going to stop the Glorybringer from attacking, but 2/3 power attackers, only 1 can get blocked. That'll drop Kazu to 2, and then Chandra's +1 ability will get the job done.
Boo. Boo. Let the worms free. Let the worms live. All they want to do is yeah, those treasure tokens are not around. He did not cast the Sandworm Convergence for 5 mana there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, all they want to do is wriggle around and eat some compost, Reed. Is that so much to ask? 5/5 blocks. Negri down to 2, and Chandra's going to finish the job. So Morgan McLaughlin, hearty congratulations to him as he wraps it up in straight sets. And I'm very sorry to say that Sandworm Convergence at the end of the day. Well, that's just about that for Kazu Negri's GP Pittsburgh. At X and 3, we expect going to bow. Probably, I mean, looking good for a money finish, but not quite enough.
Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't the fault of the Sandworm Convergence. It was more the fault of the Chandra and the Glorybringer and all that stuff on the opposite side of the battlefield.
They did no wrong. They really did. They wriggled hard, but not quite enough. There we go. We do have more magic for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get stuck in to another Time Walk game here. And Reed, I do appreciate your sincerest condolences, my friends. Great to see. It's all right. It's all right. I'll be casting Sandworm Convergence long enough in my Tiro and Kanaos of Melita's deck. Wrecking fools with that all day, every day. Now we see Bomat Courier opening things up for Aaron Barrage, but Roshan Eapen here. Wow. I just ran straight at that like a bull at a gate. I do apologize, Roshan. Roshan Eapen, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Fatal Push getting rid of the Bomat Courier and a Glint Sleeve Siphoner joining the party here for Eapen.
Aaron Barrich is a player who has really come into his own in 2018. He started off with a 2nd place at Standard Grand Prix. I believe it was Grand Prix Memphis, with his very unique take on Sultai Constrictor, Hadana's Climb. He followed it up very recently with a win at the StarCityGames.com Invitational. That's a really prestigious tournament, lots of prize money and the ability to make your own Star City Games token. So he's probably pretty excited about that. And here he is playing for yet another Grand Prix top 8.
So Glint Sleeve Siphoner facing off against Earthshaker Kenra, and Barrett choosing to go for the straight up, what is a 24 Mountain mono red list, and oh, hello, with a Wizard's Lightning at the Dome, if I'm not mistaken. No, okay, now let's be sensible. It was cast at the 2-1 there, so the Glint Sleeve Siphoner goes down. Now Soulscar Mage, as a wizard, it does give you that cheeky staff discount there. Wizard's Lightning cast at mates rates.
Worth noting, Gregor Kowalski top 4 at Grand Prix Singapore this same weekend with a mono red Wizards Lightning deck.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt's a pretty good card. Have you heard of it?
I have.
Yeah.
I have played some in my day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Goblin Chainwhirler comes down as well in the face of this Argyl's Bloodfast. Not a great card to have against mono red aggro, although my position on the card remains unchanged. All-star powerhouse in stand at the moment against those slower decks, the blue decks, the white decks. Here's Liliana Death's Majesty immediately going upstairs, creating a blocker here, but she's going to be under siege almost immediately. A 2-2 in the face of the the Kenra, the Chain Whirler, and the Soulscar Mage. Not going to be able to hold off the forces completely here.
And we'll be curious to see whether Aaron goes straight for Roshan's life total or if he tries to kill off the Planeswalker. He is packing hot fire in his hand.
What's he got?
He's got a Shock and a Lightning Strike with the mana to cast them both.
Jeez, he can just unload here, huh?
Yeah, you got to expect that he's probably casting them, particularly with the prowess of Soulscar Mage. So if he shocks the Goblin token, or the Zombie token, Lightning Strikes his opponent, that's 3 damage plus 5, 6, 7, 8. Could get Roshan down to 1. But, man, as it's has been so persistent over the course of the weekend, there's that Argyl's Bloodfast, which could transform into Temple of Aklazatz and threaten to get Roshan back into the game a lot quicker than Aaron Barrich might like.
Yeah, we've seen Argyl's Bloodfast flip and gain players, upwards of 15 life, but it looks like Barrett's going to take it here and take the line that you mentioned, Reed. Get in with the team. We'll see if Lightning Strike gets pointed to Scon, or is Epen just going to take the damage? No. Okay, so Barrett holding on to that for a rainy day. And now, Diamond Valley online in the form of Temple of Aklazatz. See what Epen's next move is here. Going to go upstairs, make... Oh, whoa, a Weewa. All right, phone that 7. 2 cards into the bin, and another zombie token here. He's got to have something else, though, because this is just not going to be enough to see his way clear. He's on an effective 2 here, and a Glintsleeve Siphoner as well. Oh, man, he needs a creature with a nice big bum here to sacrifice to that temple.
I wonder if we might see a Liliana Ultimate here, a -7 to destroy all non-zombie creatures. It's a very less frequently used mode. But no, actually the Lightning Strike plus the Prowess trigger should be lethal. But no, there's that Temple of Aklazatz, so I don't know.
Going to speed things up a little bit here as we approach the end of this round. And a cast down out of Epen's hand as well is going to stem the bleeding. Otherwise would have been a rather curious block. Goblin Chain Whirler hits the bin here. Let's have a look at this. A Wizard's Lightning upstairs, going to sacrifice this. And Epen keeping himself alive as best as he can.
Wow, what an interesting turn of events. Barrich actually found the lethal burn spell, but he couldn't cast it because he couldn't wait on it because the Soulscar Mage would have headed to the graveyard, and then he didn't have enough mana to cast both. So had he used his Lightning Strike the previous turn, he would have won. The game would be over.
Yeah, that would have been enough, but he slowed his roll just a little bit too much. Diamond Valley going to activate some to gain some more life for Epen here, and at the moment, Liliana's Death's Majesty's ability says put a 2/2 into... Oh, sorry, mill 2, gain 2.
Man, what a feel-bad situation. It's you face these super close, razor-thin decisions with mono red, and when you make the one that, whether a good or a bad decision winds up not working out, you're going to feel pretty awful.
So Hazaret, however, may change the equation here. Get in for 5, but a Vraska's Contempt as well, and Epen going from strength to strength. This is incredible stuff from him. 11 loyalty on the Liliana? Is that right?
I don't know. Has it really been plus 6 times?
It has, because he's gained 6 life from it, from the Diamond Valley, and he's got 3 zombies. Temple of Aklazatz MVP here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Jeez, and we were saying Argyl's Bloodfast isn't so fantastic against the red decks, but I tell you what, you flip it and all of a sudden it's doing all sorts of work, and Aaron Barrich can't believe it. He's just like, yeah, you got it, my friend. Wow. Roshan Epen steals one out of nowhere. Let's move on to game number 2 now. We'll get those life totals updated to make sure they're reflective of how we're kicking this match off. Bomat Curie off to a quick start here. Epen with an early Ether Hub. And look at this, Barrich not making the same mistake twice, Reed.
I think he also could have won on the final turn there if he had just started the turn by burning the opponent for 6. It would force Epen to use the temple before blockers, and then one of the creatures would have gotten through. So I think that was one of those spots where he sort of just thought he had it and didn't take the time that he needed to really deeply consider the situation. Possible misstep from Aaron Barrich in that first game.
Gitu Lava Runner's not going to be able to get busy this turn. Only 1 instant or sorcery in the bin there for Barrich. But, hey, The post must go through, and Bomad Courier is going to try to make that happen. Let's see what this little posty boy can do. Oh, well, no, not too much as it happens. A Vraska's Contempt exiling the Bomad Courier, and a follow-up in the form of Goblin Chainwhirler. Epen has kept a pretty good lid on things, and now a Doomfall, sacrifice a Gitu Lava Mancer, and Nagel's Bloodfast to follow it up. That stayed in post-board. Soulscar Mage. But here's the Scarab God read.
And that in particular is a brutal combination. If you can get Temple of Aklazats with the Scarab God, that's 5 life per turn in a recursive creature.
Oh, yeah, of course, because you can sacrifice your Scarab God, get it back next turn, play it, sacrifice it. Yeah, for sure. I don't know how much the Scarab God enjoys that whole process, but hey, his feelings aren't on the line here. Epen now, having a think about things. Often it used to be in the standard format, you untap with a Scarab God and you were more or less priced into victory. Is that ringing true here?
It might be. It just might be.
Epen. He's thinking about an upkeep activation of the Scarab God. We're going to see it happen as well. Goblin Chainwhirler. Bit of a Benedict Arnold here, and he's going to switch sides.
You know, I think people overdo it on the upkeep Scarab God. I think if you're not desperately scrying to something in particular, and if you don't care about the 1 point of damage to your opponent, a lot of times it is better to wait. Force your opponent to make tough combat decisions before they know exactly what you're intending to spend your mana on. Here, for example, if Aaron had played those 2 creatures post-combat, I just go, okay, grab the Chain Whirler, kill them both before you attack.
So Epen now, he is holding fire on the Scarab God activation, although I don't think there are any creatures. Oh no, there's the Bomad Courier, of course. So holds on to the 5/5 and just the 4/4 life. Oh, sorry, yeah, first striker there in the Goblin Chainwhirler. Barrage down to 17 as a result. He's taken 2 from the Scarab God, 1 from the Chainwhirler. Here's a carry Zev. Barrage only on 3 land. Doesn't need any more. Doesn't want any more lands. Let's see now what Epen's next move is. 2 mana, cast down.
Yeah, and there it is. The Chain Whirler coming back, decimating Aaron Barich's board. And
Yikes.
with 13 power and 2 points of life drain every single turn, Roshan can finish this game at his convenience almost.
This has kind of really come out of left field for me here, Reed. I really thought that especially in game number 1, Aaron Barich was just so far ahead and he was just ready to lock it up. And then unfortunately for him, I mean, obviously it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh, if you'd done this, if you'd done that, we had all the information. But a bit of, is the darkest timeline here for Aaron Barich.
Yeah, most definitely.
Poor old Aaron. Going to go to the back of the class here because at the moment, Epen is just walking all over him. Got that Scarab God, going to get the Earthshaker Kenra back. And has Epen got enough here to start turning him sideways, Reed?
Be careful. The last thing we need to see is an overly aggressive attack and then losing on the backswing. Take your time. You'll win over 2 turns, no problem.
Okay, all right. Going to keep that Earthshaker Kenra back on defense. Knock Barrett down to 6. Don't know what there is that's going to get him out of it, however, here, Epen. He's got a Hazoret and he's got a Lightning Strike. That 5/4 can come down and start attacking or blocking, but Barrett opts to just go, no, you, whatever. You do you, my friend. Going to take another 3 from the Zombos. Epen's going to get to scry 3 as well, and it's looking very good for him. Going to get to pick the best of those 3 cards, and he finds one he likes. Fatal Push, in they come, and Aaron Barrich goes down in straight sets in rather surprising fashion. Roshan Epen, just an absolute display of dominance there, Rita. He really capitalized. I mean, I don't even want to say on the misplays of his opponent. He just really got it done.
All he needed was a tiny bit of breathing room, that 1 extra turn point of life to start activating his Temple of Aklazats, and then that, he found the way to stabilize.
Yeah, that was huge, and that's just about that. That's all we've got now for round number 14. We are going to go to a break, but on the other side of it, round number 15, and then, of course, our top 8. We're hoping to have your company. Don't miss a minute of it, my friends. We'll be back after this.